All right, team, it's a bit of a short one today. As many of you know, the Path of Exile 1 announcement just came out, and I figured I would give you guys kind of my thoughts and feelings on that. To give a short recap, the Path of Exile 1 patch 3.26, the new league that everyone was waiting for, has been delayed indefinitely. It sounds like they haven't even started working on it, to be honest, and we won't see any further production on it until after the release of 0.2 for Path of Exile 2, and it sounds like for a few weeks even thereafter, they will continue to support 0.2 before they begin working on 3.26. To start off, I want to address a lot of the dooming that's going around for PoE 1. And don't get me wrong, I think people's feelings are totally valid. I think it's totally fine to be upset. I think you should be upset. This is a fucking lame announcement. I was personally really looking forward to a 3.26 palette cleanser after all of the bullshit that is PoE 2. But I think a lot of people are taking it a bit too far in terms of saying like, oh, they're going to abandon PoE 1 or blah, blah, blah. I think that's a possibility in the far, far future, without a doubt. Like, I could easily see them like, all right, yeah, scrap this dumb shit. But I don't think it's going to happen now. And I think that a lot of people saying that, well, you know, they pull the dev team, how long are they going to hold the dev team before they go back to PoE 1? Or why we even pull the dev team for PoE 1? I want you guys to know I'm an Omega simp for PoE 2. Okay, I love this game. I have like 500 hours in. Me and my brother talk about how it's the next Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction. It's going to be this great generational game, and it's a masterpiece, blah, blah, blah. But don't get me wrong. PoE 2 is an absolute fucking dumpster fire. I am not blind to the fact that it is replete with issues across the board. It is in a total clusterfuck state. And I think for that reason, it's why I'm not worried about them pulling resources from PoE 1 or that being a perpetual thing. Because if I'm in Jonathan's position in that chair, I'm thinking the same thing. Like, bro, this shit is so fucking bad. We need all hands on deck to get this shit fixed. Maybe it's a corporate greed thing and they just want to support the bigger game, blah, blah, blah. I'm not naive enough to say that couldn't be the case. It's just generally hard for me to wrap my head around a company being totally profit-based and incentivized by stakeholders when they drop this thing, the masterpiece they've been working on for 4 years, and then they take like fucking 30 days of Christmas. Like, I don't understand how any of that works. I think about this all the time, especially at the beginning, dude, the first month. I was like, this is why fucking New Zealanders will never put a man on the moon or fucking do anything, because you guys need 3 weeks of holiday break. Hello? For fucking what? You're just gonna get high the whole time? Like, what could you possibly be doing for that fucking long? I think the thing that jumps out to me the most is the idea that it had this timeline. And when he said it in the interview, we just need to ship this damn game. Why? We've waited forever for this. What's waiting another 6 months so it's not fucking miserable? Especially because we can just get another 3.26 league. Why did it have to have this deadline? That to me is like, okay, that's the corporate, that's Tencent being like, okay, fucking no later than December, bud. You guys got to get this shit out. And I think now that has resulted in what we have, where it's just this monumental failure. It's the burning of two bridges at the same time, rather than just waiting a little bit and preserving both. And so, yeah, I think that everyone being upset about that is 100% warranted. And I do think it is absolutely a fuck up on their part. And as lame as all of it is, I think people are taking it just a smidge too far. I mean, don't get me wrong, it fucking blows, but like to compare GGG to Blizzard, I think is crazy, okay? Blizzard is like the capital people from the Hunger Games. They are the most out of touch, greedy piles of shit that I have ever seen ever. And I've been around through every iteration of Blizzard. I've watched them destroy every single thing that I love. And GGG is nowhere close. Even though they got bought by Tencent or whatever in March, I think Settlers League came out under the supervision of Tencent. And Settlers League for PoE 1 was phenomenal. That was like the best league ever made. So I'm not too worried about like the corporate greed thing. I think really valid worries are, one, I think PoE 1 will always take a backseat to PoE 2. I think that is without a doubt that we've seen that now. I think even if PoE 2 was in a good state, or it was in a more neutral, stable state, you would still see a prioritization of PoE 2 over PoE 1. And while it pains me to say this, I would not be surprised if down the line, somewhere in the future, they just end up cutting PoE 1. I could definitely see it happening, especially as they transfer more things over, as they refine PoE 2, as it kind of becomes the flagship ARPG of pretty much, you know, the decade or whatever. Yeah, I could definitely see them getting rid of PoE 1, which I think is also lame as shit. I think PoE 1 absolutely has a place. I think it is, again, the best ARPG ever made. The complexity of it, the depth of it, I think it is just a phenomenal game. And the reality is too, I think PoE 2 and PoE 1 can really exist in like a harmonious relationship. Especially because like if you are a new player and you've played PoE 2, you are so capable of going into PoE 1 and understanding it. Like if you've made it to maps, if you've grinded, I mean, dude, if you've survived the fucking hellscape that is the end game of PoE 2, PoE 1 is a literal dreamscape in comparison to PoE 2, especially when we're talking about the end game. There are some things that PoE 2 does better, but if we're talking about just the end game grind, PoE 2 is a fucking Skid Row crack shack in the back of an alley somewhere, and PoE 1 is like a Disney cruise where you get free complimentary soft serve and you can just slam ice cream all day. I do hope we end up with both in the long run. I don't think there's any reason to scrap PoE 1. I think they will always be two different games. I think they should be two different games. That was kind of the whole fucking point of making the second one, but whatever, I digress. To give you guys my honest like personal reaction to this, when I look at great value Chris Wilson here in this chair, all I can feel for him is empathy, and I'm assuming that he's not lying. I'm assuming this wasn't corporate garbage and he meant every word he said, and I'm giving him good faith that, you know, he is being honest and genuine. And assuming that is the case, I can't help but really feel for the guy and how shitty of a situation that he is in and that he has created for himself. And although it is due to their own error and they're absolutely letting people down, the kind of the message I really want to send home is that, like, dude, this shit's just hard. It was a monumental undertaking that they had. It was an insane task that they set before themselves. There's a reason why it took so long. They probably got a little antsy at the edge of the gate and they just kind of rushed it and went too fast. And, you know, when that shit happens, there's nothing you can really do about it. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I think that's exactly the position they find themselves in. I don't think there are any good answers here. I don't think there's any happy resolutions for anyone. And maybe it was due to corporate greed. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But the thing that I can't escape when I'm looking at him in this chair is, God, I wish he was Chris Wilson. But also, like, when I'm looking at him, I have sat in this chair so many times. I understand the feeling so viscerally well of, like, you have to look all the people who you've let down, who believed in you, who trusted you. You have to look them all in the eye and just let them know that you fucked it all up. And I honestly, like, as someone who is a champion of failure, as a dreamer who went to the moon in his head but never left the ground off of his feet, I just can't help but feel for the guy. You know what I mean? I get it, dude. Like, this is a shit place to be. I've been here many a time. It's horrible every fucking time. And again, like, obviously, like, this only matters if he's being genuine or whatever, but I don't know. When I sat in this chair, grace is the only thing I wish I ever got, and I can't help but give it in that regard. And I think that's what people should do. I think that it's okay to sit there and be like, yeah, you fucked up, you did XYZ, you guys definitely, this is a black mark on your record. But at the same time, we get it, right? It's hard. It's hard as fuck. It's hard as fuck to do it all right. And I think to sit there and be like, well, you know, he just didn't manage his time, whatever, and they need a better director, and he just doesn't know what he's doing, and blah, blah, like, it's just so much more difficult than that. Things are so much more nuanced than just, they should do the right thing always, and no one should ever fuck up ever. I don't prescribe to that view of the world, and I don't think anyone should either. I think the reality of it is that doing shit is hard, especially when you're trying to do something crazy, like, you know, build PoE 1 and 2 at the same time. Yeah, that's a pretty fucking tall task. So at the end of the day, you know, I'm happy to extend grace. Again, assuming all this is genuine. If this was all just corporate greed and they're just being pieces of shit, okay, yep. Haul off, dude. Every single mean Reddit comment they fucking deserve. They're pieces of shit. Fuck GGG. Chris Wilson's gone. Our ball Jesus is dead. This whole studio is corrupt. Fuck you guys. Okay, if that's the case, I'm all down for that. To cap things off on a positive note, because I think it's important to be optimistic and forward-looking. You know, it's just some time away from PoE. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. The next 3.26, when we get it, it'll feel like fucking heaven on earth. And honestly, I would love to see a PoE 2 that doesn't suck balls, okay? I would love to see this game at like an actual stable, good, balanced, non-dog shit point where you just have to pick stat stackers and rarity farm, and it's just miserable as fuck. But, you know, we'll see. I think there's a lot of good games out there right now too. Heroes of Hammerwatch just came out. If you guys haven't played Heroes of Hammerwatch, get some boys together. Oh my god, that game is a fucking banger. Also, you know, Marvel Rivals. Speaking of, you know, things that Blizzard destroyed, Overwatch, right? If you were an Overwatch fan, Marvel Rivals is just 10 times better. Holy fuck, Marvel Rivals is a good game. I wish I could play it, but, you know, obviously for me, I'll be gulagged to my PoE 2 content dungeon forever, which is honestly fine. I'm okay with that. And like I said, I would love to see a PoE 2 that is actually good. I'm very excited for the future patches and that sort of thing. And, you know, again, down the road, I'll be stoked to finally hit 3.26. And yeah, I think that about covers it for me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.